The fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor flickered as I pushed the medication cart down the hall. My third double shift this week. My feet ached in my worn sneakers. My back protested every movement, and the headache that had been building since this morning now pounded behind my eyes with relentless intensity. But I could not stop, could not slow down. Mrs. Patterson in room 412 needed her pain medication. Mr. Chen in 415 was due for his vitals check. And somewhere between those rooms and the dozen others on my floor, I had to find time to update charts, call families, and pretend I was not running on 3 hours of sleep and black coffee. Nurse Kara, the charge nurse, Patricia, appeared beside me, her expression tight with stress. I need you to prep the private wing. We have a VIP patient coming in tonight. Gunshot wound. He is being transferred from surgery now. The private wing, where the hospital housed patients who paid extra for security and discretion. Politicians, celebrities, people whose names could not appear on regular admission logs, people like criminals. I have 6 patients who need medication rounds. I gestured to my cart. Can someone else handle the private wing? Everyone else is swamped. Patricia's voice carried that edge that meant this was not a request. You are the most experienced nurse on this shift. I need you there. His security team is already setting up. They are very particular about who has access. Security team. My stomach nodded. What kind of patient needs a security team? The kind who can afford it. Patricia handed me a tablet with the patient information. Room 420. Everything you need is there. And Kara, be professional, be efficient, and do not ask questions. She walked away before I could protest further, leaving me staring at the tablet screen. The patient file was minimal. No name, just a number. Male, 34 years old. Gunshot wound to the left shoulder. Surgery successful. Requires monitoring for infection and pain management. And at the bottom, in red letters, Security Level 5, authorized personnel only. I had been a nurse for 6 years, had worked in emergency rooms and intensive care units, had seen my share of gunshot victims, drug dealers, gang members, people caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. I knew how to stay professional, keep my head down, do my job without getting involved in the stories behind the wounds. But something about this felt different, dangerous in a way that made my instincts scream to walk away. I could not afford to walk away, could not afford to lose this job, not with my mother's medical bills piling up, not with my younger brother's college tuition due next month, not with rent 2 weeks overdue. So I took a deep breath, grabbed my supplies, and headed toward the private wing. The difference was immediate. The regular hospital floors buzzed with activity, nurses and doctors and visitors creating constant motion and noise. The private wing was quiet, almost eerily so. Thick carpet muffled footsteps. Soft lighting replaced the harsh fluorescence. And at the entrance to the corridor stood 2 men in dark suits, their posture radiating controlled violence. Nurse Kara Bennett. I showed them my badge. I am assigned to room 420. The taller one, with a scar running through his left eyebrow, scanned my badge with a device I had never seen before. Then he nodded to his companion, who spoke into an earpiece. She is clear. The second man, broader, and somehow more intimidating despite being shorter, stepped aside. Room is at the end of the hall. Mr. Costello is expecting medical staff only. No visitors, no unnecessary conversation. Costello. The name sent a chill down my spine. I knew that name. Everyone in the city knew that name. Dominic Costello, head of the Costello crime family. The man the newspapers called the Prince of the Underworld, with equal parts fear and fascination. 34 years old, and in control of an empire built on violence and fear. And I was about to walk into his room. My hands trembled slightly as I pushed the door open. Professional smile fixed on my face despite the panic racing through my veins. The room was dimly lit, curtains drawn against the night. Medical equipment beeped steadily, monitoring vital signs. And in the bed, propped up slightly against pillows, was the most striking man I had ever seen. Dominic Costello looked nothing like the grainy newspaper photos I had seen. Those images had captured danger and cold calculation. The man before me was undeniably handsome in a way that seemed almost unfair. Dark hair, slightly mussed from surgery, sharp features that could have been carved from marble, and eyes, when they opened to look at me, so intensely green they seemed to glow in the dim light. Good evening, Mr. Costello. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I am Nurse Bennett. I will be monitoring your recovery tonight. He studied me for a long moment, his gaze traveling from my face down to my name badge and back up again. Kara. He said my name like he was tasting it. How long have you been a nurse? 6 years. I moved to the IV stand, checking the drip rate with hands that wanted to shake. I need to check your vitals and change your dressing. You look exhausted. His observation was blunt, his voice rough from anesthesia. When was your last break? That is not relevant to your care. I wrapped the blood pressure cuff around his good arm, avoiding eye contact. Please remain still. He complied, watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle with awareness. Most people look away when I stare at them. They find it uncomfortable. Most people are not trying to take your blood pressure. I noted the reading. Slightly elevated but within acceptable range for someone post-surgery. Heart rate next. His pulse was strong and steady under my fingers as I checked manually, a backup to the electronic monitors. I tried to ignore how warm his skin felt, how the simple touch of his wrist sent an unwanted awareness through me. You are afraid of me. It was not a question. I am focused on my job. I released his wrist and made notes on the tablet. Now I need to check your surgical site. He shifted, allowing me access to the bandaged shoulder. I carefully peeled back the dressing, examining the wound with professional detachment. The surgeon had done excellent work. Clean entry and exit, minimal tissue damage, no signs of immediate infection. Looks good. I applied fresh bandaging with efficient movements. The pain medication should keep you comfortable. If you experience increased pain, fever, or any discharge from the wound, use the call button immediately. Very professional. There was amusement in his tone. You have done this before. Gunshot wounds? I met his eyes briefly. More than I would like. The city can be dangerous. Yes. His expression shifted, something darker crossing his features. It can. I finished the bandaging and stepped back. Is there anything else you need right now? Water? Extra pillows? Information. Dominic's green eyes fixed on me. How did you end up working the private wing tonight? I was assigned. Short-staffed, and apparently I have the most experience. Lucky me. His smile did not reach his eyes. Or unlucky you, depending on perspective. Before I could respond, the door opened. A man entered, older than Dominic by perhaps 10 years, with the same sharp features and an air of authority that filled the room. Dom. The man's voice was clipped, businesslike. We need to discuss the situation with the Marchetti family. Not now, Vincent. Dominic's tone carried clear dismissal. I am being cared for by the lovely Nurse Bennett. Vincent's eyes flickered to me, assessment swift and cold. She should leave. She is doing her job. Dominic did not look away from me, and she is about to leave anyway. Are not you, Kara? Yes. I gathered my supplies quickly. I will be back to check on you in 2 hours. Call if you need anything before then. I escaped into the hallway, my heart pounding. The 2 guards had not moved, their expressions unchanged. I nodded to them and hurried back toward the nurse's station, feeling their eyes tracking my movement until I turned the corner. How did it go? Patricia looked up from her computer. Fine. He is stable. Wound looks clean. I set down my supplies. Do I really have to keep monitoring him all night? Unless his condition changes, or you drop dead from exhaustion. Patricia's attempt at humor fell flat. Look, I know this is not ideal, but he specifically requested experienced nursing staff only. You are stuck with him for your shift. Great. I checked the time. I need to finish my other rounds. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of medications, vital checks, and documentation. My headache worsened, the fluorescent lights now feeling like knives behind my eyes. The coffee I grabbed from the break room tasted like burnt rubber, but I drank it anyway, needing the caffeine to push through. When I returned to room 420, both guards had changed position, now flanking the door on either side. He has visitors, the scarred one said. Wait until they finish. I need to check his vitals. I kept my voice professional. It has been 2 hours. Wait, it was not a request. So I waited, standing in the hallway like a chastised child, my aching feet protesting every minute. Voices drifted through the door, muffled but intense. An argument, from the tone, though I could not make out words. Finally, the door opened. 3 men emerged, all wearing expensive suits, all radiating the same dangerous energy. They looked at me with varying degrees of suspicion before moving past, their footsteps silent on the plush carpet. You can go in now. The guard's voice held a warning. He is in a mood. Wonderful. I pushed open the door, professional smile firmly in place. Dominic was sitting up more now, his face tight with barely controlled anger. Whatever discussion had just taken place, it had not gone well. Time for vitals. I moved to his bedside, determined to be quick and efficient. They want me to name a successor. Dominic's words came without preamble. My own brother, pushing me to step aside because of 1 bullet. I am just here to check your blood pressure. I reached for the cuff. Do you know what it is like, Kara? His hand caught my wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop me. To build something from nothing, To fight and sacrifice and bleed for power, only to have everyone assume one moment of weakness means you are finished? Mr. Costello. I kept my voice calm. I need you to release my wrist so I can do my job. He let go immediately, something like regret flashing across his face. Apologies. I am just tired of people treating me like I am already dead. You are not dead. I checked his blood pressure, noted it was higher than before, but you are recovering from surgery, and you need to stay calm. Stress will slow your healing. Stress is unavoidable in my line of work. Then maybe you are in the wrong line of work. The words came out before I could stop them. His eyebrows rose. Most people would not dare say that to me. Most people are not responsible for your medical recovery. I finished my checks. Your vitals are elevated. You need rest, not arguments about succession. Succession? He laughed, the sound bitter. They act like I am ancient. I am 34 years old, Kara. I have decades left to run this family, if you survive that long. I applied a new cool compress to his forehead. Gunshot wounds have a way of becoming habit-forming. 1 leads to 2. 2 leads to 3. Speaking from experience? From observation. I had been adjusting his IV when it happened. One moment I was standing. The next, the room tilted violently. The headache that had been pounding all evening suddenly exploded into blinding pain. Black spots danced across my vision. Kara. Dominic's voice seemed to come from very far away. I am fine, I tried to say, but the words would not form. My knees buckled. The floor rushed up to meet me, and then strong arms caught me, pulling me against a solid chest. Pain flared from Dominic's injured shoulder as he caught my weight, but he did not let go. Guards. His voice cut through the darkness, pulling at me. Get the doctor, now. I tried to protest, to say I was fine, but consciousness slipped through my fingers like water. The last thing I felt before everything went black was Dominic lowering me carefully to the bed, his good hand cradling my head with unexpected gentleness. And then, in the moment before I lost awareness completely, I heard him whisper something. Words so quiet I might have imagined them. Words that made no sense in my fading consciousness. I am sorry, Julia. I am so sorry for what I did to you, Julia. The name echoed through the darkness as I fell. But my name was not Julia. I woke to bright lights and worried faces. The hospital room, but different. Not Dominic's private suite, but a regular patient room. I was in a bed, an IV in my arm, monitors beeping steadily. Nurse Bennett, a doctor I recognized, Dr. Martinez, leaned over me with a pen light. Can you tell me your name? Kara Bennett. My voice came out hoarse. What happened? You collapsed. Severe dehydration and exhaustion, complicated by what appears to be a nasty case of the flu. Dr. Martinez made notes on a tablet. When was the last time you had a full meal and 8 hours of sleep? I tried to remember, and could not. Days ago? Maybe longer. I have been working double shifts. Your body shut down. Patricia appeared beside the doctor, her expression a mixture of guilt and concern. Kara, why did not you tell anyone you were sick? Because I needed the hours. I attempted to sit up, the room spinning slightly. My mother's medical bills, my brother's tuition. I could not afford to call in sick. You almost died. Patricia's voice was sharp. Your blood pressure was dangerously low. Your temperature was 103. If Mr. Costello had not caught you, if he had not immediately called for help, you could have hit your head, could have had a seizure. Mr. Costello. The memory flooded back. I was checking his vitals and then everything went dark. Is he okay? Did I hurt his shoulder? He is fine. A new voice, deep and unmistakable. Dominic Costello stood in the doorway, his left arm in a sling, his expression unreadable. More concerned about you than his own injury, apparently. Mr. Costello. Patricia's voice held surprised deference. You should not be out of bed. I am fine. He moved into the room with careful control, ignoring his doctor's protests. I wanted to make sure Nurse Bennett received proper care. She is in good hands. Dr. Martinez stepped between us, protective. She needs rest and fluids. No stress. I will not stress her. Dominic's eyes found mine. I just want to talk to her, privately. That is not appropriate. Patricia started to protest. It is fine, I heard myself say, though I was not sure why. Give us a moment. The medical staff exchanged uncertain glances but complied, filing out of the room. The door closed, leaving me alone with Dominic Costello, a crime lord who had caught me when I fell and whispered a name that was not mine. You called me Julia. I said it directly, too tired for games. When I was passing out, you whispered an apology to someone named Julia. Who is she? Dominic's expression closed off, his jaw tightening. You heard that. I heard it. I held his gaze. You said you were sorry for what you did to her. And then I woke up confused and sick, and I need to know why you called me by someone else's name. He moved to the chair beside my bed, sitting down carefully, protecting his injured shoulder. Julia was a nurse, like you. She worked at this hospital 3 years ago. Worked. Past tense. My chest tightened. What happened to her? She died. Dominic's voice was flat, emotionless in the way people get when feeling too much. Because of me. Because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and my enemies used her to get to me. The room felt suddenly colder. How? There was an attack. A rival family trying to send a message. Dominic stared at his hands. Julia was leaving the hospital after her shift. They grabbed her in the parking garage. Held her for 3 days. By the time I found her, it was too late. I am sorry. The words felt inadequate. That must have been terrible. Terrible does not begin to cover it. He looked up, meeting my eyes. Julia was not just a nurse who treated me once. She was someone I cared about, someone who saw past what I do, who treated me like a person instead of a monster. And she died because of that. Because caring about me made her a target. My heart hammered against my ribs. Why are you telling me this? Because when you collapsed, when I caught you, for a moment, I thought I was back there. Thought I had failed to protect someone again. Dominic's voice roughened with emotion, and I realized I could not let that happen. Could not let another nurse get hurt because of me. I am not in danger from you. I shifted in the bed, the IV tugging at my arm. I just fainted from exhaustion. You are absolutely in danger from me. Dominic leaned forward, intensity burning in his green eyes. Not because I would hurt you, but because my world destroys good people. It destroyed Julia. It could destroy you just as easily. Then why tell me this? Why not just let me recover and go back to my normal life? Because I need you to understand. His hand reached for mine, hesitated, then made contact. Warm fingers wrapped around my cold ones. I need you to know what being near me costs, what it has cost before. You do not owe me explanations. I should have pulled my hand away but could not quite manage it. I was just doing my job, taking care of a patient. You were more than that. Dominic's thumb traced circles on my palm, the gesture unconscious and devastating. You looked at me like I was human, like I mattered beyond what I could do for you or to you, just like she did. The comparison to a dead woman should have made me uncomfortable. Instead, it made me unbearably sad. For her. For him. For all the ways violence and power destroyed possibilities. I should rest. I finally pulled my hand back. Dr. Martinez said I need fluids and sleep. Yes. Dominic stood, wincing slightly as the movement jarred his shoulder. You should rest. But Kara, I need you to promise me something. What? When you are released, when you go back to your life, stay away from the private wing. Stay away from me. His voice carried weight, command mixed with plea. Whatever kindness you showed me, whatever connection we might have felt, it is not worth your life. You do not get to tell me where I can work. I am trying to protect you. Frustration edged into his tone. Why can you not see that? Because protection that comes with control is not protection. I held his gaze. It is just another kind of cage. Then consider it a request. Dominic moved toward the door, a desperate one from someone who has already watched one good person die because of him. He left before I could respond, the door closing with a soft click. I lay there in the hospital bed, my body exhausted but my mind racing. Julia, a nurse who had treated Dominic Costello, who had cared about him, who had died because of that caring, and he thought history was repeating itself, thought I was in danger simply because I had shown him basic human decency. Maybe he was right. Maybe the smart thing was to request a transfer, stay far away from the private wing and the dangerous man who occupied it. But I had never been particularly smart about protecting myself, and something in the way he looked at me, the way he had caught me when I fell, the raw pain in his voice when he spoke about Julia, it called to something in me I thought I had learned to ignore, the part that wanted to fix broken things, to see the human beneath the monster, to believe that redemption was possible even for people who did terrible things. I was released 2 days later with strict orders to rest, stay hydrated, and not work for at least a week. Patricia had been apologetic and firm, promising my job was secure, insisting I take the time I needed to recover fully. My tiny apartment felt both comforting and suffocating after the hospital. I spent the first day sleeping, the second catching up on bills I could not afford, the third researching a name I should have left alone. Julia Martinez, 26 years old when she died, an emergency room nurse with a reputation for compassion and skill. The newspaper articles about her death were sparse, mentioning only that she had been the victim of a violent crime, that arrests had been made but no details released. Reading between the lines was easy once you knew what to look for. Retribution killing. Message sent. Innocent life taken to punish someone else. And Dominic Costello, who had found her too late, who carried that guilt like a weight he could never set down. My phone rang, snapping me out of dark thoughts. An unknown number. Hello? Nurse Bennett. The voice was unfamiliar, male, with an edge that made my instincts scream danger. We need to have a conversation about Mr. Costello. Who is this? Someone concerned about his well-being. And yours. A car will pick you up in 30 minutes. Be ready. I do not think so. I tried to keep my voice steady. I do not get into cars with strangers. This is not a request. The line went dead. Panic flooded my system. I immediately called Patricia, but it went to voicemail. Tried the hospital security. Same result. My hands shook as I searched for Dominic's number. Realized I did not have it. Had no way to contact him or warn him or ask for help. 28 minutes later, a black car pulled up outside my building. I watched from my window, heart pounding, as two men in suits emerged and entered the building. I had 3 choices: run, hide, or face whatever this was head-on. Before I could decide, my door rattled with heavy knocking. Miss Bennett, a voice called through the door. We are here to escort you to a meeting. You can come willingly, or we can make this difficult. I opened the door, chin up despite my fear. I am not going anywhere until you tell me who sent you. The scarred man from the hospital, the guard I recognized, stood there. His expression was apologetic. Mr. Vincent Costello requests your presence. It is regarding his brother, Vincent, the man who had wanted to discuss succession, who had looked at me like I was an inconvenience. And if I refuse, then I am instructed to inform you that Dominic's safety may be compromised. The guard met my eyes. Vincent wants to discuss how to keep both of you alive. It is not a threat, Miss Bennett. It is an opportunity. If you enjoyed this intense story so far, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss what happens when Kara discovers the deadly conspiracy that connects her to Julia's death. Against all better judgment, I grabbed my coat. Let us go. The drive took us out of the city into areas that got progressively more upscale. Estate homes with gates and security. Old money and new danger mixing in equal measure. The car finally pulled up to a mansion that looked like something from a movie. Sprawling grounds, fountains, more guards than I could count. The Costello family home, I assumed. The heart of their empire. Vincent Costello waited in a study that screamed power. Dark wood paneling, expensive artwork, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured gardens. He stood as I entered, his expression assessing. Nurse Bennett, thank you for coming. I was not aware I had a choice. I remained standing, refusing the chair he gestured to. What is this about? Please sit. It was not a request despite the polite phrasing. This conversation will take some time. I sat, perched on the edge of the leather chair, every muscle tense. My brother is compromised. Vincent began without preamble. Has been since Julia Martinez died 3 years ago. He blames himself, carries guilt that affects his judgment, makes him weak. He is not weak. The defense came automatically. He is wounded and recovering. I am not talking about the gunshot. Vincent's cold eyes fixed on me. I am talking about his emotional state, his inability to make hard decisions because he is terrified of losing anyone else he cares about. I barely know your brother. I do not understand what this has to do with me. Do not you? Vincent pulled out a folder, sliding it across the desk. Julia Martinez was not randomly targeted. She was specifically chosen because someone knew Dominic cared about her, knew that killing her would hurt him in ways no physical violence could. I stared at the folder, not touching it. Why are you telling me this? Because the same people who killed Julia are the ones who shot Dominic last week. Vincent leaned back in his chair. The Marchetti family. They have been trying to destabilize our organization for years, and they have learned that the best way to hurt Dominic is not to attack him directly, but to destroy the things he cares about. I am not something he cares about. We barely know each other. Vincent's smile was cold. My brother catches you when you fall, calls you by his dead lover's name, visits you in your hospital room despite his own injuries, and you think he does not care. You are either naive or willfully blind, Miss Bennett. The implication hit me like ice water. You think I am in danger because he showed me basic human kindness. I think you are in danger because the Marchetti family has excellent intelligence. They know Dominic personally ensured your medical care. Know he has been asking about your recovery. Know that you represent a potential vulnerability. Vincent opened the folder, revealing photographs, security footage from the hospital, images of me entering and leaving, timestamps that tracked my every movement. My stomach turned. You have been watching me? No. The Marchetti family has been watching you. Vincent's voice carried grim certainty. These photos were taken by their surveillance team. We intercepted them before they could be used, but the message is clear. They are preparing to make a move. What kind of move? The kind that ends with another dead nurse and my brother completely destroyed. Vincent stood, moving to the window. I cannot let that happen. Not again. Dominic is too valuable to lose. And another trauma like Julia would finish what the Marchetti family started. So what do you want from me? My voice sounded steadier than I felt. To disappear? To hide? To leave the city? I want you to be bait. Vincent turned back to me, his expression calculating. Willing bait, with full knowledge and protection. Help us draw out the Marchetti family so we can eliminate the threat permanently. You want to use me as a lure to catch killers. I stood, anger overriding fear. I am a nurse, not an operative in your criminal games. You are already a target. Vincent's voice was harsh. The question is whether you become a victim like Julia, or a participant in your own survival. And what happens to me after? Assuming I survive being bait, you disappear. New identity, new city. Enough money to start over safely. You and your family. Vincent had clearly done his research. Your mother's medical care, fully covered. Your brother's education, paid in full. Debts erased. All you have to do is help us end this. The offer was too perfect, too convenient. You have known about me for how long? Since you were assigned to Dominic's room. Vincent did not try to hide it. We background check everyone who comes near family members. Standard protocol. And you saw an opportunity. Use the nurse to catch your enemies. Solve multiple problems at once. I saw a woman who deserves better than to be collateral damage. Vincent's mask slipped slightly, revealing something almost human beneath. Julia was a good person. She died afraid and alone because we failed to protect her. I will not let that happen again if I can prevent it. Does Dominic know about this plan? No, and he cannot know. Vincent moved closer. My brother would never agree to putting you at risk. He would rather die himself than use someone as bait, especially someone who reminds him of Julia. So you want me to lie to him too. I want you to stay alive. Vincent's intensity was almost frightening. And I want my brother to have a chance at redemption, instead of drowning in guilt. This serves both purposes if you are willing. I walked to the window, looking out at the beautiful grounds that hid such ugly realities. Everything in me screamed to refuse, to walk away, to protect myself the way I always had. But I thought about Julia, dying afraid and alone. About Dominic's voice when he whispered her name. About the guilt that clearly ate at him every day. And I thought about my mother in her care facility, my brother struggling to afford textbooks, the crushing weight of bills I could never quite get ahead of. What would I have to do? I asked without turning around. Continue your job at the hospital. Return to work when medically cleared. Vincent spoke from behind me. The Marchetti family will make contact, likely through an intermediary. They will offer you money to provide information about Dominic's condition, his security, his schedule. You agree. Feed them information we want them to have, and when they move to strike, we will be ready. And if something goes wrong, if they suspect I am working with you, then my entire security team will be positioned to extract you. Vincent's voice carried certainty. You will never be in a room with them alone, never truly vulnerable. We have done this before, Miss Bennett. We know how to protect assets. Assets. That is what I would be to them. Not a person, just a tool to be used in their war. But maybe that was better than being a victim. I will do it. I turned to face him. But I have conditions. Name them. Complete transparency about the plan. I do not work blind. I need to know every step, every contingency. Agreed. My family gets protection during this, not just after. If the Marchetti family decides to use them as leverage, I need to know they are safe. Already arranged. Vincent pulled out another folder. Your mother was transferred this morning to a private facility with enhanced security. Your brother has been assigned a driver for his commute to campus. You moved them before I even agreed. Anger flared hot. You manipulated me into this. I prepared for your agreement. There is a difference. Vincent's expression did not change. I told you. I will not let another innocent die if I can prevent it. Your family's safety was priority one regardless of your decision. The twisted logic of it made my head hurt. In his world, this was protection. This was care. One more thing. I held his gaze. When this is over, when the Marchetti family is dealt with, I want to talk to Dominic, to explain why I did this. That can be arranged. Vincent moved to his desk, pulling out a phone. Now, let us discuss the details of your return to work. The next week passed in a blur of preparation. Vincent's people trained me in basic counter-surveillance, taught me how to spot a tail, gave me a panic button disguised as a medical alert bracelet. They walked me through the plan so many times I could recite it in my sleep. But the hardest part was not the training or the preparation. It was knowing that when I returned to the hospital, when I inevitably saw Dominic again, I would be lying to him, using his trust, his guilt, his connection to me for purposes he would never approve. My first shift back was on a Tuesday. I dressed carefully, put on the medical alert bracelet that was really a tracking device, and headed to the hospital with a security detail I could not see but knew was there. Patricia welcomed me back with relief and immediately assigned me to the regular floors. No private wing, no VIP patients, which meant Vincent had already arranged to keep me away from Dominic until the Marchetti family made contact. That contact came on my third shift back. I was in the break room, grabbing coffee that tasted only marginally better than the sludge from my previous shifts, when a woman I did not recognize approached me. Nurse Bennett? She was middle-aged, professional-looking, with kind eyes. I am Sandra Morrison, family liaison for the private wing. I wanted to thank you for your care of Mr. Costello. He has spoken highly of your professionalism. Just doing my job. I stirred sugar into my coffee, playing the part. How is he recovering? Very well. Back to his regular activities, though still attending physical therapy for his shoulder. Sandra smiled. In fact, he has been asking about you, wondering how you are feeling after your illness. That is kind of him. I kept my voice neutral. I am much better, thank you. He wanted me to give you this. Sandra pulled an envelope from her purse. A thank you for your care, personal note, and a gift card to help with any expenses from your hospital stay. The envelope was thick, clearly containing more than a simple note. This was the moment Vincent had prepared me for, the initial contact. That is very generous, but not necessary. I took the envelope, following the script. Mr. Costello already ensured I received excellent care. He is a generous man when someone earns his respect. Sandra's smile did not quite reach her eyes. Perhaps we could chat sometime about your experience nursing him. I am always interested in how our VIP patients are perceived by medical staff. It helps us improve our services. The invitation was clear. She wanted to talk, wanted me to share information, wanted to test whether I could be bought. I would be happy to chat. I pulled out my phone. What is your number? She rattled off digits I carefully saved. Wonderful. I will be in touch soon. Enjoy the gift card. After she left, I waited exactly 15 minutes as instructed, then went to the bathroom and opened the envelope. Inside was a Visa gift card for $500 and a handwritten note. Thank you for taking care of me during a vulnerable time. I hope this helps with any medical expenses. Please accept my appreciation for your kindness and professionalism. Dominic Costello. The handwriting was strong, masculine, the message generic enough to be innocent. But clipped to the back of the card was a small business card. Sandra Morrison, family consultant, and a phone number. I took a photo of everything with the special phone Vincent had given me, then tucked the envelope into my locker. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Contact received. Proceed as planned. Call her tomorrow. Express interest in additional opportunities. I deleted the text and returned to work, my hands steadier than they should have been. I was committed now. No turning back. That night, I lay awake thinking about Julia, about how she had probably been approached the same way, offered money, asked for information, slowly drawn into something that seemed harmless until it was not. Had she known what was coming? Had she realized she was being used as a weapon against someone she cared about? Or had she died confused and terrified, never understanding why she was a target? I called Sandra Morrison the next afternoon during my lunch break, making sure to sound hesitant but interested. Miss Morrison, this is Kara Bennett. You said you wanted to chat about my experience with Mr. Costello. Oh, Kara, wonderful to hear from you. Sandra's voice was warm, friendly. I am so glad you called. Would you be free for coffee this week? My treat, of course. We arranged to meet at a cafe near the hospital, public and safe. Vincent's people would be watching, recording, ready to intervene if necessary. The meeting went exactly as Vincent predicted. Sandra asked seemingly innocent questions about Dominic's condition, his security, his routine. She expressed concern about his recovery, wondered if he seemed stressed or distracted. And then, casual as discussing the weather, she mentioned that some associates of hers would be willing to compensate me for occasional updates on Dominic's health. Nothing invasive, just checking in on a patient they cared about. The money, she mentioned, was obscene, more than I made in 3 months, enough to clear my mother's medical debts entirely. I hesitated, played my part, expressed concern about privacy and ethics. Sandra smiled understandingly. Of course, we would never ask you to violate patient confidentiality, just general updates. How he seems emotionally, if he mentions being worried about anything, the kind of things a friend might share. I agreed to think about it. She gave me 2 days. Back at the hospital, I found a message waiting. Dominic Costello had requested to see me if I had time during my shift. My first instinct was to refuse, to maintain distance as Vincent had instructed. But refusing would seem suspicious to Sandra's people, who were almost certainly watching me now. I went to the private wing, nerves singing with tension. Dominic was not in his room, but in the physical therapy area, working with resistance bands under a therapist's supervision. He looked better than when I had last seen him, color back in his face, moving with more confidence despite the shoulder injury. Nurse Bennett. He dismissed the therapist with a nod. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Costello." I stayed near the door. "I received your thank you note. That was very generous but unnecessary. It was absolutely necessary." He set down the resistance bands. "You collapsed while caring for me. The least I could do was help with any expenses. My insurance covered everything." I kept my tone professional, but I appreciate the gesture. "How are you feeling? Truly?" He moved closer, those intense green eyes searching my face. "You look tired still." "I am a nurse working full shifts. Tired is my natural state." I managed a smile. "But I am recovered. No lasting effects." "Good." Dominic seemed to relax slightly. I was worried. "You have no idea how much it scared me when you fell. You caught me." I held his gaze. "Thank you for that. I will always catch you." The words were soft but certain. "Whatever else happens, whatever mistakes I make, I will not let you fall." The sincerity in his voice made my chest tight with guilt. This man, who barely knew me, who had every reason to be cold and calculating, was looking at me like I mattered, like my safety was personally important to him, and I was using that care as cover to trap his enemies. I should get back to work. I turned toward the door. "Kara." My name stopped me. "Be careful. Whatever happens, please be careful. The city is more dangerous than you know." "I will." The lie tasted bitter. "You should focus on your recovery." That evening, I met Vincent in a secure location, a nondescript office building where we could talk without being overheard. She offered me money for information. I reported. "Wants updates on Dominic's emotional state, whether he seems worried about anything." "Perfect." Vincent made notes. "Agree to the arrangement. Feed her information about a meeting Dominic is supposedly having next week. Specific location, specific time. When the Marchetti family moves to intercept, we will be ready. What if Dominic gets hurt in the crossfire? He will not be there." Vincent's expression was cold. "We are not fools, Miss Bennett. The meeting is fake, designed to draw them out. Dominic knows nothing about it, will be safely elsewhere, but they will think he is there. They will come prepared to kill him." "Exactly. And we will be prepared to end this threat permanently." Vincent leaned forward. "This is war, Miss Bennett, not a negotiation. The Marchetti family will not stop until Dominic is dead or broken. This is our chance to strike first." The ruthless logic made sense even as it horrified me, but I agreed. What choice did I have? 2 days later, I called Sandra and agreed to her offer. She was delighted. Transferred a down payment of $3,000 into an account I had been told to set up. Blood money, I thought as I saw the deposit confirmation. Payment for betrayal, even if that betrayal served a larger purpose. Over the next week, I carefully fed Sandra information. Small details about Dominic's recovery, his frustrations with physical therapy, his concerns about business. And then, carefully coached by Vincent, I mentioned overhearing plans for a meeting at a warehouse downtown. Wednesday night at 10. Important business associates. Dominic wanted to prove he was back in control. Sandra's interest sharpened. She asked probing questions. I answered with the reluctant detail of someone who knew she was crossing a line, but needed the money too much to stop. The trap was set. Wednesday afternoon, Vincent called me personally. "Tonight, everything changes. Are you prepared?" "As prepared as I can be." My hands shook as I held the phone. "What do you need from me?" "Stay home. Do not go anywhere. Do not answer your door for anyone except my people." Vincent's voice was hard. "When this is over, I will contact you. If something goes wrong, if the Marchetti family suspects anything, my team will extract you immediately." "And Dominic, does he know?" "He knows there is an operation tonight. He does not know you are involved." Vincent paused. "He cannot know, Kara. Not yet. Let us end this threat first. Then we can worry about explanations." I spent that evening pacing my apartment, unable to eat, unable to focus on anything except the knowledge that somewhere in the city, a trap was being sprung, that men would die tonight, maybe many men, all because I had played my part in this elaborate deception. At 11:30, my phone rang. "Vincent, it is done." His voice carried grim satisfaction. "The Marchetti family leadership walked right into our trap. They are either dead or in custody. The threat is eliminated. Relief and horror ward in my chest. And your people? Any casualties? Minor injuries only. We had overwhelming force and the element of surprise. Vincent's tone softened slightly. You did well, Miss Bennett. You helped us prevent another Julia. That matters. When can I see Dominic? To explain. Tomorrow. Come to the family estate at noon. He will be there. And we will tell him everything together. You deserve the chance to explain yourself. I barely slept that night, rehearsing what I would say, how I would justify using his trust and guilt for Vincent's purposes. No explanation seemed adequate. The next day, I drove to the Costello estate with my stomach in knots. The same guards let me through, their expressions unreadable. I was led to the study where I had first met Vincent, but this time, both brothers waited. Dominic stood by the window, his back to me. His posture radiated tension. Vincent sat behind the desk, his expression carefully neutral. Mr. Costello, I addressed Dominic's back. I need to explain something. He turned, and the look in his eyes stopped my breath. Pain, betrayal, understanding. You were working with Vincent. It was not a question. Using yourself as bait to draw out the Marchetti family. Yes, no point in denying it. But not for the reasons you think. Then explain. His voice was dangerously calm. Explain why you lied to me. Why you used the connection between us for Vincent's purposes. I told him everything. Sandra's approach, Vincent's offer, my family's desperate financial situation, the choice between being a victim or a participant, the plan to draw out his enemies and eliminate the threat. Dominic listened without interruption, his expression growing harder with each word. When I finished, silence filled the room. You could have told me, Dominic finally said. Could have asked for my help instead of going behind my back. Vincent said you would never approve, that you would rather die than use someone as bait. Vincent was right. Dominic moved closer, anger barely controlled. Do you understand what could have gone wrong? How many ways that plan could have ended with you dead? But it did not. I held my ground. The Marchetti family is gone. You are safer. I am alive. My family is protected. It worked. This time. Dominic's hand shot out, gripping my arm. Not hard, but firm. What about next time? What about the next family that decides I am vulnerable? The next group that sees you as a way to hurt me? Then maybe you should stop being vulnerable. The words came out harsher than I intended. Stop caring about people if it makes you weak. Is that what you think? That caring is weakness. Dominic's voice dropped low, dangerous. You have no idea what it is like to live in this world. To know that everyone you care about is a potential target. That showing love is the same as painting a bullseye on someone's back. Then why do it? Why care about anyone if it is so dangerous? Because the alternative is being alone. Dominic released my arm but did not step back. Because a life without connection, without someone who sees you as more than just power and violence, that is not living. That is just existing. If you enjoyed this emotional story, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to see how Kara and Dominic navigate the dangerous aftermath of their connection. Like Julia, I said softly, she made you feel human. And you cannot forgive yourself for getting her killed. No, I cannot. Dominic's mask cracked, pain flooding his expression. Because she died afraid and alone, calling my name, hoping I would save her. And I did not get there in time. That was not your fault. How can you say that? She died because of me. Because I was selfish enough to want connection in a world where connection is fatal. She died because evil people made evil choices. I moved closer. You did not kill her, Dominic. The Marchetti family did. And now they are gone. Now that threat is eliminated. There will always be another threat. Always another family, another rival, another person willing to hurt innocents to get to me. His hands framed my face, gentle despite his anguish. That is why you need to walk away, Kara. Take Vincent's offer. New identity, new life. Get as far from me as possible. What if I do not want to? Then you are a fool. But his touch contradicted his words, thumbs stroking my cheeks with devastating tenderness. A beautiful, brave, impossible fool. I survived being bait. I think I can handle whatever else your world throws at me. You do not know what you are saying. You do not understand what it means to be permanently connected to someone like me. Then show me. I covered his hands with mine. Stop trying to protect me by pushing me away. Let me choose for myself. Choosing me means choosing danger. Choosing constant vigilance. Choosing to live with the knowledge that any moment could bring violence to your door. Maybe. But it also means choosing connection. Choosing to see you as more than just a crime lord. Choosing to believe that redemption is possible even in your world. Redemption. Dominic laughed bitterly. I am not sure I believe in that. Julia did. I held his tormented gaze. She saw something in you worth caring about, worth the risk. Are you going to dishonor her memory by deciding she was wrong? That is not fair. Life is not fair. I stepped closer, until we were nearly touching. Fair would be Julia surviving. Fair would be good people not dying because of crimes they did not commit. But we do not get fair. We get choices. And I am choosing to stay. Why? His voice broke slightly. Why would you choose this? Choose me? Because. I struggled to put it into words. Because when I fainted, you caught me. Because you whispered an apology to a dead woman and I heard the genuine regret. Because you look at me like I matter. Not just as a tool or an asset, but as a person. And because I think maybe I can help you believe that you are more than your worst actions. I do not deserve that kind of grace. No one deserves grace. That is what makes it grace. I moved my hands to his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath my palms. I am not asking for perfect, Dominic. I am just asking for honest, for real, for a chance to see if this impossible connection between us can survive outside of crisis. Vincent cleared his throat from across the room, reminding us he was still there. If you two are finished with the dramatic declarations, we need to discuss practical matters. Dominic stepped back, his hands falling away from my face. He looked to his brother. What practical matters? Kara's safety going forward. Vincent stood. The Marchetti leadership is eliminated, but their organization still exists. Lower-level members who might seek revenge. We need to establish permanent security protocols. No, Dominic's voice was firm. She is not living under guard like a prisoner. Then she is at risk. Vincent's expression was cold. Which is precisely what I warned you about. There is a third option. I spoke up. I stay, but I learn to protect myself. Self-defense training. Weapons training if necessary. I become someone who can handle the dangers of your world instead of someone who needs constant protection. Both brothers turned to stare at me. You want to learn to fight? Dominic's tone was incredulous. You are a nurse. Nurses deal with violence more than you might think. I crossed my arms. Angry patients, drug seekers, family members who blame us for bad news. I already know how to de-escalate situations. Teaching me to physically defend myself is just an extension of skills I already use. She has a point. Vincent's voice carried grudging respect, and it would make her less of a target. Predators prefer easy prey. Absolutely not. Dominic looked between us. I am not turning you into a soldier in our war. You are not turning me into anything. I moved to face him directly. I am choosing to adapt to reality. Your world is dangerous. Running from that danger just makes me vulnerable somewhere else. But learning to navigate it, to protect myself, that gives me agency, power, choice. This is insane. Dominic ran his hand through his hair. You should be living a normal life, finding a normal man, building a safe future. Maybe I do not want normal. I held his gaze. Maybe I have spent my whole life playing it safe, keeping my head down, never taking risks. And maybe I am tired of that. Maybe you are worth the danger. I am not worth your life. That is my decision to make, not yours. I turned to Vincent. You said you could provide security training. When can we start? Vincent smiled, cold and calculating. Tomorrow, if you like. We have facilities and trainers. You will learn everything from hand-to-hand combat to weapons handling to counter-surveillance techniques. This is happening too fast. Dominic looked between us, frustration clear. You just eliminated one threat. Now you want to train her for the next one? When does it end? It does not end. Vincent's voice carried harsh truth. This is our reality, Dom. Either we prepare the people we care about to survive it, or we watch them die. Those are the only two options. The brutal logic silenced Dominic's protests. He looked at me, conflict warring in his expression. If I do this, I said quietly, if I train, if I learn to protect myself, if I choose to stay in your world, you have to promise me something. What? No more pushing me away for my own good. No more making decisions about my safety without consulting me. We are partners, or we are nothing. Your choice. Dominic was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Partners. Equal footing. Complete honesty. Even when it is dangerous. Especially when it is dangerous. He moved closer, but I reserve the right to worry about you. I smiled despite the gravity of our conversation. I think I can live with that. Good. Because I intend to worry constantly. Dominic's hand found mine. This is foolish and reckless, and probably going to get us both killed. Probably. I laced my fingers through his, but at least we will go down fighting. That is the most romantic thing anyone has ever said to me. His smile was small, but genuine. Welcome to the family, Kara Bennett. May God have mercy on your soul. The next 6 months transformed my life in ways I could never have imagined. Mornings were spent at the hospital, working my regular shifts, treating regular patients, maintaining the appearance of normalcy. Afternoons and evenings were dedicated to training, self-defense with instructors who taught me how to use my small size as an advantage, weapons training at a private range where I learned to shoot with disturbing accuracy, situational awareness classes that taught me to read a room, spot threats, escape dangerous situations, and through it all, Dominic. He attended many of my training sessions, watching with a mixture of pride and concern. We had dinner together most nights, sometimes at his penthouse, sometimes at restaurants he deemed safe, always with security nearby but increasingly less intrusive. We talked about everything and nothing, his childhood in this violent world, my struggles growing up poor but determined, his guilt over Julia, my fears about becoming someone I did not recognize, and slowly, carefully, we built something real. Not the dramatic, crisis-driven connection of our first meetings, but something deeper, partnership, trust, love that grew from honest conversation rather than manufactured drama. My mother's health stabilized in the new facility. My brother thrived at college without the stress of financial worry. I paid off debts I had carried for years. Vincent's arrangement had given me freedom I had never known, but it came with a price. There were still threats, still moments when security had to be increased, still nights when Dominic came home tense from dealing with challenges to his authority. And there was the knowledge that I had changed fundamentally. The woman who could now disarm an attacker without hesitation, who kept a weapon in her purse and knew how to use it, who could spot a tail from 3 blocks away. She was not the same naive nurse who had walked into Dominic Costello's hospital room months ago. On the 6-month anniversary of our first meeting, Dominic took me to dinner at the restaurant where he had first told me I should stay away from him. "I have something for you." He slid a small box across the table. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a single pendant, a caduceus, the medical symbol. "I know you had to give up some of your nursing hours to accommodate training." Dominic's voice was soft. "I know this life has taken you away from the work you love. This is just a reminder that you are still that person, still someone who heals, no matter what else you have learned." Tears pricked my eyes. "Thank you." I fastened it around my neck. "It is perfect. You are perfect." He reached across the table for my hand. Terrifying and dangerous and completely inappropriate for me, but perfect. "Right back at you." I squeezed his fingers. "So what happens now? We just keep doing this? Training and working and trying to stay alive?" "Now." Dominic's expression grew serious. "Now I ask you something I swore I would never ask anyone again after Julia." My heart hammered. "What?" "Move in with me. Officially. Not just staying over, but making my home yours. Sharing a life, not just stolen moments between crises." "Dominic, I know it is fast. I know it is complicated, but I have wasted enough time being cautious, being afraid, pushing away the one thing that makes this life bearable." He stood, moving around the table to kneel beside my chair. "I love you, Kara Bennett. I love your strength and your stubbornness, and your refusal to be protected when you would rather fight. And I do not want to waste another day pretending that we are just casually dating instead of completely committed. I love you too." The words came easily, naturally, even though you are complicated and dangerous and sometimes infuriating with your need to make unilateral decisions for my own good. "I am working on that." His smile was crooked. "Vincent says I am making progress in the letting go of control department. Vincent would know." I cupped Dominic's face. "Yes, I will move in with you. Because you are right. We have wasted enough time being careful." He kissed me there in the restaurant, in front of staff and security and whoever else might be watching. A claim and a promise and a leap of faith all at once. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For seeing past the monster to the man. For choosing this impossible life when you had every reason to run. You caught me when I fell." I reminded him. "How could I not fall for you after that?" We spent that night talking about logistics, what I would bring from my apartment, how we would merge our lives, what it would mean to be publicly acknowledged as Dominic Costello's partner. The next morning I woke in his bed, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, his arm draped across my waist. For the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt safe, truly safe, not because I was protected, but because I had chosen this. Eyes open, aware of the dangers, accepting the complications. Dominic stirred beside me, green eyes opening to focus on my face. Morning. I traced the scar on his shoulder, the visible reminder of how we met. "Do you ever regret it? Getting shot? Because if you had not, we might never have met. I would get shot 100 more times if it meant finding you." He pulled me closer. "But I would prefer we find less dramatic ways to spend our time going forward. Where is the fun in that?" I kissed him softly. Boring is overrated. Says the woman who used to have a perfectly safe, boring life before I ruined it. You did not ruin it. I met his eyes. You complicated it, made it more dangerous and more wonderful in equal measure. I would not trade this for safe and boring ever again. I will hold you to that. Dominic's expression grew serious. Because there will be times when you regret this choice, when the danger feels too real, when you wonder if normal would not have been better. I know, but I will have you. That makes it worth it. We lay there as the sun rose higher, two people who had found each other in the most unlikely circumstances. A crime lord carrying guilt over a woman he could not save, a nurse who refused to be a victim of circumstances she could not control. We were an impossible match, a recipe for disaster, a relationship that defied every logical argument against it. But we were also real, honest, built on choice rather than chance. And sometimes, the most impossible things turn out to be the most worth fighting for. 6 months after I had walked into a hospital room to treat a gunshot wound, I was living with the man who had been on the receiving end of that bullet, training to survive in his dangerous world, building a life that was anything but safe or normal. Julia's ghost would always be there, a reminder of what could happen, what had happened. But maybe in some way, choosing to stay, choosing to fight, was honoring her memory better than running ever could. She had seen something worth caring about in Dominic Costello, something worth the risk. And as I lay in his arms, watching the city wake up beyond the windows, I understood exactly what she had seen. A man capable of terrible things, but also capable of catching someone when they fell, of whispering apologies to ghosts, of fighting to become someone worthy of redemption. That was the man I had chosen, the one I would continue to choose, day after day, for as long as we both survived this impossible, dangerous, beautiful life we were building together. The woman who had fainted before a Mafia boss had been shattered by what he whispered. But from those shattered pieces, I had built myself into someone stronger, someone capable of standing beside him instead of being protected by him. And that, in the end, made all the danger worth it.